This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Busy here on Money Moves as we welcome you back. Stormy Buonantony, Dustin Sweetelson with you. Money Moves brought to you by Polymarket. You can get in on the action with a free $50 using the promo code BUZZ, B-U-Z-Z, today. And obviously, there's so much going on this time of year, but also the NFL never sleeps. It is 24/7, 365. And despite the World Cup going on, we have the NFL coming in here getting frustrated and making their point known that, hey, we're having all of these NFL stadiums that are utilized for the World Cup, and you've got real grass in here. Why are we still dealing with turf? It is brought up, the World Cup, the world's game, has then re-brought up this whole issue for the NFL right now.
And, you know, this kind of coincides with a lot of these Europeans coming over, and you see them on social media enjoying the United States. This is one element of the U.S. where we're getting wrong by allowing turf on the fields with the injuries that we're seeing and all the issues that it causes. I mean, at some point, we got to get with the times. I understand the argument back in the day was the maintenance for a grass field and the cost and how many people you have to hire to deal with that. These football teams are not struggling to pay their bills, okay? They can afford to have a grounds crew to handle the grass, which, by the way, also makes your product better because your best players aren't going to get hurt with some of these soft tissue injuries and ligaments being torn.
Now, let's not forget the NFL did come out in January around the Super Bowl talking about the actual percentages of injuries.
Yeah, but they also had percentages about CTE back in the day that they put out there as part of their propaganda.
I don't mean to laugh. That's obviously not a funny issue, but the concept.
Yes. It's propaganda. It's like it benefits me, so
yes.
I'm only. It's like when I come on here and I go, "Here's 5 reasons why I love this bet." I don't give you the 5 reasons why the bet's not going to win because I don't like those 5 reasons. I'm only telling you the 5 things that I like.
Yes, and I will say the players at least have repeatedly come out and say they prefer grass. They at least feel like, even if it were to just be mental, that it is easier on their joints. It's easier on their bodies as big people. The NFLPA actually posted on a social media thing this week that, quote, players' voices should shape their game from the ground up, and the word ground looks like grass. The second slide, it says 92% of their players prefer grass, according to their NFLPA survey. And to tie all of this in, by the way, to betting markets and different things that we can get into, SoFi Stadium is one of these turf fields that has been transitioned for the FIFA World Cup. Obviously, Team USA getting it underway with their first match, but it's going to be utilized here, and that led me down this kind of rabbit hole of different things. Obviously, the Rams are your Super Bowl favorites now after the trade they made to bring Myles Garrett into the fold. We have all of the rumors around Aaron Donald, and there is a market up on Polymarket right now. Will Aaron Donald sign with any team before the 2026-27 season? And it's at a 49% chance right now. I saw this peak as high as 69% after Adam Schefter's podcast said it was, quote, more likely than not Donald would come out of retirement. He added, everyone has acknowledged that it's a possibility. The fact that it's even a possibility in June tells me there's every possibility it will become more real in July. How do you see it?
I think everyone's getting very caught up in the emotion and the concept and the idea of this. I don't know if it's as likely as everyone's making it out to be. Now, there's no tread on the tire the last 2 years. I think that's a positive, right? For a guy who puts his body in harm's way on every single play, that would lead credence that he could come back and play. But you sit out 2 years, I mean, what he's going to have to do to get back into game shape, to stay in game shape, and now he's 35 years old, I love the idea of it. I'd love to see it because I don't think he needs to be on the field for every single down to make an impact like he needed to in the past, especially with Myles Garrett and the rest of this young defense. But I think at some point he tries to get back into playing shape. And by the way, I know he's in incredible shape. I've seen the videos.
But it's different, right? Football shape versus being strong.
It's also the hits you're taking. It's day after day, week after week. It's waking up in week 5 and being like, my hip is killing me. My shoulder is aching. And I know it's not going away until the end of the season. And if you're the Rams, when is the end of the season? Hopefully at the end of the Super Bowl.
Which would also be in SoFi Stadium. Like, let's throw that into the mix as well.
No, I want it to happen, but if I was betting in this market, just because there's so many people hyping it up as it could be something that's happening or should be happening, I would just be contrarian and say no and be the buzzkill here.
Boo.
I know.
You love being the downer. I don't know what's happened to you. You've changed over the last little bit.
Yeah, it's called being wrong when you're on the fun side of things over and over again. Aaron Donald is the best defensive player of his generation, and I'd love to see him come back and play, but I just don't think it's as easy as everyone makes it out to be.
So the Rams, as I mentioned, are your favorite right now to win the Super Bowl. Plus 550, shortest shot on the board. They were co-favorites with Seattle before making that move for Myles Garrett. Now top of the board, you see the Bills and Ravens after LA at 10-1, Seattle 11-1, and then we get to the Eagles, Patriots, and Chiefs at 16-1. Kansas City. I know you were paying attention to some of the work that we've had up at VSiN.com recently, and there is one guy here at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, that is pretty high on the Kansas City Chiefs this year.
Yeah, Matt Humans placed his very first bet for the NFL season for the Super Bowl, and it was the Kansas City Chiefs. Find out his thought behind it by going to VSiN.com right now. And I agree with a lot of the sentiments he said. It does feel like a buy low because the reason the Chiefs are priced at such a high number is the question marks around Patrick Mahomes and his return from injury. We're going to have to see what he looks like to understand how far this team can go. But Kansas City, as long as they have Mahomes, can contend. You're buying low coming off of a down year. And I think when I look at this Kansas City Chiefs team, they have to be better than they were a year ago. What we saw was a clunky team that really didn't have its identity, that really at times wasn't able to convert consistently on the third downs, that seemed automatic for a long time. There's some new pieces, specifically in the secondary, that you just wonder about how that transition's going to go. But there's a lot of continuity on offense, a lot of names returning. Whether that's a good or bad thing, we'll find out. But as long as Mahomes is there and he is healthy and this offensive line can protect him in a decent way, they brought over Kenneth Walker to establish a run game to give them a sense of balance here, which I think will be a huge positive for them. There's no reason why you shouldn't consider 16-1. I'm with Matt. It's just a numbers play. It's a value play. And I'll compare it this way. We have three teams right now at DraftKings exactly at 16-1. You have the Chiefs, the Patriots, and the Eagles. Which one feels like there's upward trajectory this year to be better than that number? It's Kansas City. There's turmoil in Philadelphia. Who knows what New England looks like this year with everything going on with Vrabel off the field, but more importantly, a harder schedule than we saw a year ago. If you had to choose one of those three at 16-1, the Chiefs to me are the no-brainer.
That's the thing about New England last year. For as great as they were, I feel like people are just quick to forget for some reason that they had what was on paper, when all was said and done, like the historically easiest schedule in modern football history.
Yeah.
So now we're just expecting them to run it back. I understand that they were a young group that makes all of these moves and adjustments, and Vrabel coming in and making all of the changes that he did. You bring in A.J. Brown, and everybody's just glowing about him and what that's going to be like with the young quarterback. But I think these expectations are maybe a little bit too high now for them to get back to the mountaintop, no?
Yeah, I agree. I also think that people aren't factoring in that their head coach is a rat, and he gave privileged information from his locker room to a reporter, among other things. Like, it's like, how can those guys in that locker room trust him when they know that he was giving away inside information, that he had this relationship where he was breaking the confidence of trust, that not just someone in the locker room, the leader of the entire thing was breaking the trust?
It's a great point, because how often do we see these head coaches on podiums having to answer these outside questions and like then having to address that with their room, being like, I don't know how this is getting out. Where are the leaks coming from? You're the leak. You're the one doing it.
We now know everything that ever came out about New England was leaked via Mike Vrabel.
So we have talked a lot over the course of the last week about our football season special we have going on here at VSiN.com, where if you sign up right now for $175, you get unlimited access to everything that we do here at the network through the Super Bowl. A key selling point, I think, of joining now is the fact that our NFL betting guide is coming out this month, and you get it for free as a part of it. It is all-encompassing. It is so good at diving into the division winners, awards markets, different angles and perspectives you should take on all of the season schedules and strength of opponent. Like, there's such good information that comes in on this thing each and every year. All of us here at VSiN contribute. There are articles that are written. You are going to be a key contributor this year. And you told me there are some bets that you haven't fully written out and vetted out yet, but that you're contemplating putting together.
The very first bet that I want to discuss with you, I think is right up your alley. And I'm looking at Brock Purdy 20-1 for MVP. And I am someone who's not been on the Brock Purdy hype train for a while. I actually criticized the deal when they locked him up, and I thought that Kyle Shanahan was signing his death sentence by inking him to this deal. But the fact of the matter is, when Brock Purdy's on the field, he puts up monster efficiency numbers. And I'm looking at this roster. They made major improvements. One, they're going to be healthier. Two, they're going to be good. You know they're going to be a playoff team and a huge bounce-back season because that's just what they do in San Francisco. And because of that, I think he's going to be squarely in the mix. Mike Evans coming over, I can't emphasize this enough. I've called this guy a kingmaker, going back to his Johnny Manziel days. Think about how he extended Tom Brady's career into a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield, the resurgence, odd. It came in Tampa Bay of all those places after traveling around the country and it not working. Funny, Baker Mayfield all of a sudden turns into a star again when he has Mike Evans to throw to. The big body, the angles he plays, the red zone targets, the way he stretches the field, he can still get it done. I think that addition into this offense, combined with Christian Kirk, who is so dangerous in the slot. Pearsall's going to be a stud. Kittle's back healthy. You just need Brock Purdy to play all the games. That's the only question. Because you look at his 17-game average for his career, he's averaging a 29 touchdown season to 13 interceptions. He's completing 68% of his passes. His 17-game average is 4,054 yards. The numbers extrapolated out. If you get a healthy Brock Purdy in this system where he is the perfect fit for what Shanahan wants to do and the improvements made on the outside, I really like him at 20-1 because I think they could have a monster season.
And I'll say, because of, as you're referencing here, the injury history that Brock Purdy has had, you also look at the mileage, the travel schedule they have. If they're able to overcome that and have that success, he's going to be a key piece of it, which is why I think you're getting this number. It is typically in the preseason, based on some of the things that he's done, been priced much lower than this. I think getting that number is a good opportunity and one of, like you said, many things that are going to be coming up in the betting guide later on this month. If you want to get in, join us now. vsin.com/subscribe, again, is how you can sign up. And in addition to the betting guide, in addition to all of the access to the daily articles up at the website, you get the best bets, which I know is what everybody cares about. vsin.com/picks. When you're a subscriber, you go to that page, you get all your favorite expert and host picks as well. We know that's what you want. Stick around. We'll be right back. More coming up on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
History to be made on the lawn of the White House this weekend for Freedom 250. Early celebration of the new word I learned this week, semi-quincentennial on this 4th of July coming up, 250th. Yeah, the more you know.
I'm glad you said you have. I thought we were about to storm it or something. I know what was going on.
Please, no, let's not go there. Money Moves, though, presented by Polymarket. Get in on the action with a free $50 using the promo code BUZZ today. That's BUZZ. Check out all of the UFC offerings there for Freedom 250, some of which we will get into with our good friend Rob Moreno, who joins us here on the Progressive Guest Line, host of VSiN's First Strike, along with Captain America himself, Dave Ross. What's going on, Rob? How are you?
Not much, guys. How are you guys doing?
Pretty pumped. Excited for the weekend.
I'm disappointed there isn't a live remote for you guys for First Strike on the White House lawn.
Yeah, what happened there?
I feel like Dave's got the hookup. How'd you guys not get the call?
I'm not sure. I probably didn't get the call. It's possible Dave got the call from some friends out there, but I don't think I got a call at all.
So, well, it sounds like you're dodging a bullet, though, hypothetically, with all of the weather stuff we're hearing about. It looks hot. It looks humid. We're going to get potential rain out there, it seems. And with that, we'll get to the card in a moment because there are some great fights out here. But I mean, what does that mean for a fighter? How much experience do these guys have fighting outside, and especially, let alone with weather conditions? There's got to be none with that.
So we had Ricardo Lamas on this week's First Strike. Check it out. Download everywhere available. And remember, these fights are on Sunday, so you got an extra day to check out the podcast. But
boom,
he talked about he's had a fight outside, and you do have to prepare for that, especially when you consider humidity. I looked it up. The UFC did have one event that was partially outside. It was UFC 112 back in Abu Dhabi, 2010. But it was an open-air arena, right? Just kind of a cover. Air came in. Honestly, it's hard to tell what affects the fighters, but this is the biggest concern is probably the rain. And you're talking about potential rain delays if there's thunderstorms. And, you know, not to point anything out, but I don't think this crowd is going to be hungry enough for the fights to sit in the rain if it starts even sprinkling. So that could be a factor. You're also dealing with only a crowd of about 4,000 people. It's going to be a very different environment. It's not going to sound great either. That one thing about that UFC Abu Dhabi card that happened many years ago is the acoustics didn't exist because there's just nowhere for the sound to bounce off of. So the fights felt very flat as you were watching them on TV. I'm curious if they've done anything about that, but seeing the setup, there's really only something above them to protect. It may block some of the rain, but you're talking about swampland. Things could, if it rains prior, what happens to the land? Because we're on a slope too, so they've had to account for that. There's a lot of factors that could come into play, and there's also bugs. Like, I'm talking to Reed Kuhn, Dave Ross, guys who have been in the DC area. There's plenty of gnats. Like, I don't know what kind of elements could really play into these fights, but I'm just playing cautiously because I don't know how to factor that in.
Yeah, and then I guess the question I would have is who benefits from humidity? Is it the grapplers? Is it the stand-up and fighters? Because to me, the longer the fight goes, to me, it's going to be really difficult for a lot of these guys to deal with that.
I think it benefits the strikers. You know, a lot of guys, especially if you're a submission guy, especially if you're a grappler, you want to try to implement that game plan early because guys aren't sweaty yet, right? It's easier to grab onto a body when it's dry. These guys, they may get wiped down before they enter the cage, but just standing there, the humidity, especially when they're doing probably a Bruce Buffer 20-minute intro for the guys to really start the fight, they're going to start sweating immediately. We're talking about 70% plus humidity, 90 degrees. It's going to be hot. These guys are going to be sweaty. It definitely doesn't benefit the heavyweights. Shout out Derek Lewis. I'm not sure how he's going to do, pushing 42 years old, a heavyweight, and that temperature is going to get to him.
Forgive me, I'm a little bit distracted out of the corner of my eyes. We've got the first game of the College World Series underway right now. West Virginia was down 3-2 briefly as Troy pulled ahead. So, Will Hill, if you're listening, you're not dead yet, by the way, but we just got a solo shot from West Virginia again to tie this thing up at 4. So, some early chaos in Omaha, where it's also pretty hot and sweaty from what I understand. Let's keep this going, though, diving into the actual card as Rob Moreno joins us here, VSiN's own host of the First Strike podcast. Headliner, lightweight title fight, Ilia Topuria, Justin Gaethje going head-to-head. Topuria, big favorite here, over minus 550 roughly. You can get Gaethje in the plus 390 range, over 1.5 on the total rounds. How do you see this one shaking out?
You know, as many times as I tried to find a way to land on the big underdog here, especially he's an interim champ, nothing against Justin Gaethje, but he's pushing 37 years old. It's kind of the wind down, and even looking at his past few fights, he's kind of gone on that veteran tour of type of opponents. He's facing a monster in what is Ilia Topuria. You know, and a lot of people want to bring up the size, right? Justin Gaethje's 5'11", Topuria's only 5'7", sorry. I shorted him a little bit, no pun intended. But
Hey-o.
Gaethje will have a 4-inch reach advantage, but the height, I don't think, and the size, I don't think it plays a factor the way we want it to. Ilia Topuria fought Charles Oliveira and Max Holloway, a guy who's 5'10", 5'11" as well. There's an old quote, Anderson Silva is the first time I heard it, but it's from Rickson Gracie. It's, if size mattered, the elephant would be the king of the jungle. I don't think Ilia Topuria cares that there's a taller man against him. Yes, there's a reach advantage, but he's dealt with it, and he's dealt with it clean. The stats back everything up for Topuria. I mean, you're talking about a brawler. Justin Gaethje does have a wrestling background, but man, he just wants to get in there and throw fists, and wild fists. Topuria is timed, precise. I think that's a dangerous game plan. His best game plan is probably just to take his time and back up a lot, but Topuria is going to find his spot, and I'm afraid it's going to be a short night for Gaethje. I haven't found my way to a bet. I was originally thinking the under 1.5 rounds. It was priced at around minus 105 early in the week. It's now reaching minus 110, minus 120. But speaking of Captain America, he's kind of talked me into believing the over is possible. I haven't found my way anywhere, but I think that's the way to go if you're just looking at Topuria's side, is playing the rounds.
Let's look for a live dog here, Rob. Diego Lopes, minus 148 against Steve Garcia, plus $1.24. Garcia comes in on a pretty lengthy win streak here. Feels like he might be a little bit undervalued in the market. You think he's live to win this thing?
So Diego Lopes is one of the toughest dudes you'll see enter the octagon. This isn't a shake against him. His only last 2 losses, most recently, are both title fights to one of the greatest featherweights, Alexander Volkanovski. So no shame there. He recently knocked out Gene Silva, also extremely impressive. but he's also a guy who kind of just wants to jump into the chaos. He wants to throw punches. He absorbs a lot of shots on the way. Garcia is kind of the opposite. He will throw hands. He's a very powerful striker, but he's elusive. He avoids a lot of strikes. He's only being hit about 1.87 significant strikes per minute. That's the way you avoid the damage against a guy like Diego Lopez. This is also the first fight on the night, so it's potential. These are probably the freshest fighters you'll see. They wouldn't have been out there too long. This is a very chalky card from top to bottom when I'm really looking at who I like on each side. This is the only spot where I was able to say, I'm going to back Steve Garcia because if he's able to avoid the damage he has taken in the past, but he's able to avoid it now, I think he's live at plus 145 is what I got at it, but nowadays it's plus 130 or so.
For what, as you said, is a pretty chalky card, one of the tighter odds that we have is the co-main event in the interim heavyweight title fight. No Victor Wembanyama, but another Frenchman in Ciryl Gane versus Brazil's finest and Alex Pereira. Pereira trying to make history as a 3-division champ. What is it like for a guy who typically fights a little bit smaller or has in his career trying to get up to this type of a weight? Is that something that we should be thinking about? How do you see it?
This fight's super special. It's actually the one I'm most excited about just because of the history on the line. Alex Pereira could become a 3-division champion. We've never seen it in the UFC, especially how common 2-division champs are. A 3-division one would be great. Man, he's stepping up for a big test here. Ciryl Gane is not only just a heavyweight and a new type of opponent, he's also one of the best heavyweights the UFC has had, at least when he's avoiding poking people in the eye. Hopefully we don't get that. That would really put a huge stamp on the night if he does that. But he has advantages that could get there. I run a predictive model for my UFC fights, and it does land on the Ciryl Gane side. But here's the thing. It actually barely lands there, and it actually gives me a warning that he may not have the tools. Now, it doesn't account for the weight changes. And so far, Alex Pereira, from the camps we've seen, he looks good. He looks good at the size. And one thing to think about is he doesn't have to worry about cutting weight, which is usually what these days leading up to a fight is concerned about. He's probably not going to be as heavy as Ciryl Gane is, but he's not going to, be worried about cutting weight in these last 48 hours until weigh-ins. I'm kind of betting with my heart here. Dave Ross has been on air all week saying bet with your head, not with your heart. I'm betting with my heart here. I want to see history happen. I think if there's a guy that can pull this off, even against a powerful heavyweight like Ciryl Gane, I think it's Alex Pereira, and I'm backing him, especially at minus 110. I thought this price would get even bigger because he's such a fan favorite.
Can you say his last name one more time for me?
Which one, Ciryl Gane or Alex Pereira?
That's oh man, God, smooth like butter, the way you say it. Rob Moreno, you're the man. Thank you so much for this. Appreciate you, my friend.
Thank you, guys.
Roberto.
Have a great day.
Roberto.
You're welcome.
It's me, your daddy, Roberto. Nobody gets it.
Just the way that he said Pereira. So good.
Yeah, I can't pull that one off. I can't pull the accents off.
It was like me earlier trying to say Paraguay.
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 I feel like you just have to confidently not finish all of the letters, and it sounds like you're speaking whatever language you're trying to speak. That's the key here.
Okay, that's smooth.
Just don't finish the letters. Whatever that
just
means.
let it kind of fall off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not even just the word, like each individual, don't say 70% of each letter on this.
Okay, we'll give that a go moving forward. We got to step aside here. When we come back into a little NBA conversation, VSiN's own Zach Cohen is going to join us. Very curious, his opinion not only on where the series sits right now, but the MVP conversation. Stick around.
Anunoby, if we had to vote right now, would have my vote for MVP of the finals.
OG Anunoby is the unanimous finals MVP right
So,
now. It ain't a debate.
In the second half of this,
It ain't a debate. Brian Windhorst, followed by Tim Bontemps of ESPN there as we welcome you back here to Money Moves, VSiN, the sports betting network. This segment and this show brought to you by Polymarket. Get in on the action with a free $50 using the promo code BUZZ at Polymarket. That's BUZZ. But fascinating, I think, as we welcome you back in, Stormy Buonantony, Dustin Sweetelson, considering OG Anunoby is not your favorite in this market. Plus 210 available from him right now. Jalen Brunson, an odds-on favorite. To help us break it all down and discuss, we've got the one and only Zach Cohen joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line, our VSiN senior editor, host of Hardwood Handicappers, and a great job as an NBA analyst for us all season long. Zach, do you agree? Because those are some pretty stark words there from a couple of big names at ESPN.
Yeah, I completely agree. I actually tweeted about this morning because I saw someone compare OG Anunoby winning to Andre Iguodala stealing it from Steph Curry, and I just don't like that comparison at all. I feel like Anunoby is like a top 25 player in the NBA and has proven that throughout the course of this run. And he's averaging 21 points per game in these playoffs, has been even better in the NBA Finals. I just feel like 23-ish points per game, elite defense, like 58, 55, 90 shooting splits. He has been by far the best player in this series. And I just don't really understand the argument for Brunson today. Would that change if he goes for 35 in a road game and leads them to a win? Maybe. But as of right now, I feel like you're getting a really good price on Anunoby.
Yeah, and by the way, OG Anunoby plays both ends of the floor. Jalen Brunson doesn't.
Yep.
That's the argument here. I kind of think that the voters would give it to Brunson because of the story and the narrative. But speaking of stories, let's live in a world where San Antonio comes back and wins this series, and they win the finals. They're the champions. Victor Wembanyama is only 10 cents better than betting San Antonio to do that, plus 380 to plus 390. Do you think there's any chance someone else on San Antonio, like a Castle 250 to 1, a Harper 600 to 1? I know I'm out in the weeds here with this, but is there a world where any of those other guys could be made the case to be the MVP over Wemby if the Spurs come back?
I really can't see it. Like, I'd rather just take San Antonio to win the series than take Wemby just in case, but I don't really know who it would be unless it's like this is finally the game where they roll the ball out to Harper. He starts scoring 25 a game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 8 rebounds, all that. I just don't really see it happening. I think that there are going to be changes that we see from the Spurs tonight. I do think we're going to see a little bit more of an equal opportunity offense late in the game if it is close, but I don't really see anybody wrestling it away from Wemby. It's just really hard to imagine.
I'll admit then, that does surprise me a little bit that you'd say I'd take San Antonio just to be safe over Wemby. If you think it's essentially the same bet, why not take the extra 10 cents? Or is that minuscule, 1% enough to keep you off of it?
That's really what it is. Like, I maybe I'm a little bit of a coward. It's just like not as much of a difference in the payout. Like, what if Wemby gets injured? I don't know. I'd just rather take the Spurs.
I get it. No, I get it. It's not worth the risk here. Now, as far as
we're gamblers. No, I'm just kidding.
As far as Game 5 goes here, we've got the Knicks as 5.5-point dogs on the road. Totals 216.5. And you've watched these games closely, Zach. I mean, San Antonio's been the better team. Let's be fair. In the critical moments, in the clutch situations, New York has had their number. But now going back to a better environment, more conducive for them, do you like San Antonio to extend this series and lay the 5.5?
Yeah, I'm laying 5. If you could find that, I'd strongly prefer that. But yeah, I would be willing to play 5.5 if you have to. I do think what you just said is true. I think that the Spurs, for at least like 60% of this series, have looked like the better team. Obviously, the late game meltdowns have been alarming. Their half-court offense for them is just nowhere near what it is for New York. Like, the Knicks know exactly what they want to do is get the ball to Brunson, move out of the way, allow him to create. The Spurs don't have that same luxury, but I do think we're going to see, like I said before, some more Harper in late game situations, a little bit less Fox. I feel like they have not presented a really good option one-on-one for defending Harper, and the Spurs just have to exploit that. But I do think this is a spot where you're probably going to have pretty much everybody in the world backing the Knicks, like plus 5.5 for the team that just came off the biggest finals comeback in NBA history, going against a team that I think a lot of people believe is going to check out and collapse. I think it's going to be a really, really popular side. So that is kind of where I'd start here, is that I do like the idea of fading a very, very trendy favorite or dog, sorry. And I do think that the Spurs have shown enough to show that they can win this game by a decent margin at home.
Zach Cohen joining us here on the Progressive Guest Line, VSiN senior editor, NBA analyst, host of the Hardwood Handicappers podcast. And let's go down the De'Aaron Fox road here a little bit, because if you were a Spurs backer, I imagine you were pretty darn frustrated watching him at the end of last game. And for somebody who's supposed to be your most experienced guy, making some rookie mistakes out there. And yet, looking ahead to this game, he's somebody in the prop market you're buying in on. How and why?
Yeah, so I'm taking him to go over 3.5 rebounds. Part of the handicap is that I do think, like, after what you just did in Game 4, you better show up with some effort at least. But at the same time, like, he has been going over this number pretty easily over the course of these playoffs. I think in the last 12 games, he's averaging 4.4 rebounds per game. He has gone over 3.5 in 9 of the last 12. And if you add that to the fact that, yeah, I do expect him to be a little bit more focused, a little bit more willing to do some dirty work, I do think he's going to have 4+ rebounds. But yeah, it's really, really tough kind of watching Fox like this. I think DeMarcus Cousins made a really good point about this, that for as old as he is, it's only his second playoff run. So it's not like he's some experienced postseason veteran. Like, this is also one of his first times going this deep into the playoffs. So maybe not the veteran that you'd expect him to be at this point in the series. And he is also very banged up. I think Calipari said that today. Like, he's dealing with a very significant high ankle sprain. I kind of wonder if this is a hockey playoff situation where he gets surgery after the postseason and we just don't know about it. I think there were multiple plays in game 4 where he had a beat on a defender in a fast break and pulled it out. Of course, he didn't end up pulling it out in the final one. He ended up getting blocked by Anunoby. Maybe he should have chosen that time to bring the ball out. But it's pretty clear he's lacking his usual explosiveness.
What do you want to do with Devin Vassell? Because he's been stroking it beyond the arc the last few games here. We're looking at 11 3-pointers over the last 3 games. He is not intimidated by the moment. You got to give him a lot of credit because he's kind of forgotten about in the mix with those 3 core guys that they're building upon in San Antonio. How do you want to bet him coming up here for the next game?
Yeah, so I took him to go over 2.5 made threes last game, and I'm going right back to it at plus 118 here. It's just, you said it well, like the scouting report does not show you that you need to really worry about Devin Vassell outside of catch and shoot threes. But when you're worrying about Wemby, you're worrying about Harper. Occasionally you're going to give them up. He knocked down 5 of them last game. He's knocked down at least 3 in 3 straight games. And he's just a dead-eye shooter when he's open. So as my daughter yells again, I do kind of wonder if this is going to be a situation where he gets a bunch of open jumpers again. And look, he's been playing a lot of minutes because of what he's been doing on the defensive end. I'll take my chances with a guy that's shooting 6 to 8 threes a game. If he's playing 40 minutes a game, like all of it lines up pretty well for him to have some decent volume.
Real quick, before we let you go, I know we're NBA Finals focused, but the NBA draft is coming up in short order. Have you added anything to the account recently?
Yeah, so the one thing that I think is definitely actionable is I've kind of read a bunch of mock drafts, seen a bunch of like insiders talking about what they're hearing. It sounds like there's real smoke to Braden Burries, the Arizona guard, kind of trying to steer his way to Dallas at number 9. That's a Rich Paul client. You can't put it past him. They usually get what they want in the NBA draft or in free agency. So I like the idea of taking Burries at either number 9 exactly, which would be a plus money payout, or to go in the top 10, which is minus 175 at DraftKings, but you might as well search around and see if you can get a better price. But I do think he's going to go top 10.
We'll be bugging you again ahead of the draft. Don't worry. Thank you, Zach. Awesome stuff as always, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
Zach Cohen, check out Hardwood Handicappers wherever you get your podcast. You can also follow him at Betting on X, and of course all the content of bvsin.com. Reminder as well, though, if you're betting all these basketball games, if you're betting the Stanley Cup Final, whatever it is, the action is nonstop. And at Polymarket right now, did you know you can cash out before the final buzzer? So this isn't like your normal sportsbook where you've got to wait till the end of the game. If you sense things shifting, you can lock in your edge early. Download the app today. Get started with a free $50. Use the promo code BUZZ, BUZZ, over at Polymarket today. Trading not available in all jurisdictions. You got to check your local regulations before trading. Restrictions and eligibility requirements do apply. But so much good stuff there. Go ahead, sorry.
I'm just looking at Polymarket.
Yeah.
Update on the soccer. This is all correlated here. Bosnia strikes first. 1-0 over Canada. They are leading right now as we're still in the first. But with that, I was just looking over at Polymarket for the Golden Boot, which is the most goals scored in the World Cup. Favorite is Kylian Mbappe, which makes me think of Mbop, which makes me think of the band Hanson. And the most awkward moment of my life when I had a crush on the youngest one, only to find out it was not a girl and it was a boy.
That took a turn that I didn't expect, and I don't know anything about the band Hanson.
You don't know Hanson?
Nope. I know that song. Who doesn't know that song? But are they a one-hit wonder band? What's another one?
Oh, they might have had one more song together, but if you watch that music video, and I was about the same age as them, I was like, oh, the little girl's cute. Found out it wasn't a little girl.
Assuming she had, or he had good hair. Okay, that's a sign for Stormy to take us to break here. When we come back, we're going to get into the best bets of the day, recap some of the action as well. We will update you a little bit more on the College World Series, where we are tied up at 4 right now between Troy and West Virginia in the bottom of the 4th inning. Our guy Will Hill sweating out the dog in Troy for what he thought was maybe a little bit too big of a favorite in West Virginia. And one update, because we got a tweet on some of our UFC Freedom 250 conversation about the venue. I do want to react to that real quickly and share a couple other markets that are available in that. Stay with us, and I'll try to think if I had any other crushes in my youth that I was very confused about.
Wow. Not like that one.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Roll along here on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM, Channel 158. Stormy Buonantony, Dustin Sweetelson with you right now, keeping tabs on the RBC Canadian Open that's going on right now. Ben James tops of the leaderboard right now at 10 under. And I don't know about you, but I'm getting more and more excited about the U.S. Open getting underway next week. And if you're like me, you like a fun way to get in on the action. Splash Sports High Stakes U.S. Open Challenge is live right now. It's $500 to enter for a shot at $100,000 guaranteed. Here's how it works. You can pick 6 golfers, 1 from each of 6 tiers. Your top 5 scores count. Worst golfer gets dropped. Lowest score wins. So it's all about finding value across the board, not just stacking up favorites here, okay? Multiple entries are allowed, so you can build a few different lineups. Do whatever you can to increase your shot. We've got a $100K prize on the line. Right now, new players use our promo code VSiN, VSIN. You get a 50% deposit match up to $100, a free Quick Picks entry up to $20, and a 100% Quick Picks payout boost on any entry up to $20. Splashsports.com is how you can sign up. Again, use that code VSiN. 21 and older, must be present in select states. See site for full rules and details. Again, splashsports.com, though. I am hype for the U.S. Open.
Well, one, here's why the U.S. Open's fun. If you're a NASCAR fan, it's like when you're betting on Talladega or Daytona. It's completely wide open because the course is so crazy. It is so hard. They want to break the will of the competitors, which is why a contest like that is fun, because if you take a bomb or two and they end up being live, all of a sudden you're in a really good situation. So I think that's why this event specifically could be fun, because a long shot could legitimately win it, because it's about endurance. It's about the challenges. Everyone's going to feel like they're up against it and losing, and then it's a mental warfare for the full rounds of this event.
Shocker to no one, Scotty Scheffler is your favorite. What else is new?
Yeah, but you can't do anything with that.
No matter what event it is, it's an unbettable price.
Even as it's been a minute, it feels like, since he's won one.
For sure. He's still minus 455, though, for the U.S. Open. Like, what are you supposed to do with that?
You don't.
You hope he has another
it.
round 1 failure and see if you can buy in on the comeback.
Oh, so
that's the only way.
So when he gets up to 4-1? Okay. When he's tied for 43rd and he's 4-1? Okay, good luck with that.
We've seen his odds go out because he's been losing, though. That's the thing. Like, he'll come all the way back and still finish like T2.
No, I totally get it. I wouldn't touch him. I would do a lot of long shots, and obviously Koepka is going to be a name that a lot of people bring up.
One thing I did want to add, obviously we had Rob Moreno join the program a little bit earlier. We were talking through the UFC Freedom 250 card coming up on Sunday, and our good buddy, frequent listener, Deepak48, tweeted at us a shot of the venue saying that it's covered. We understand that. But it is an open-air coverage for the Octagon, okay? So last I checked, humidity and condensation will still be there.
Yeah, it's still going to impact things.
Yes.
I mean, you're not – okay, it's like this studio. You've done a very nice thing because, you know, I run hot, you run cold. That thermostat is under 70 degrees, but there's times when I'm not with you, that thing's like 74 degrees. You mean to tell me it doesn't impact your environment at work when the temperature is not what you you here? These guys are used to going –
shoulder out.
Yeah, I don't know what you were thinking. I don't know what you were thinking today. But you think it doesn't affect these guys who are used to a climate-controlled, perfect situation every time they fight? It's absolutely going to play a role in this.
Are you going to get involved, do you think, at all in anything Freedom 250?
I'll probably just watch it and enjoy it. I'm having a tough time winning on the sports that I actually know a lot about, so I'm going to avoid the ones I don't.
So let's go down that road then. Anything that you are adding to the NBA Finals? Like, do you have a very strong opinion coming up on Game 6?
I have the Knicks 16-1 to win the title.
Excuse me. Yeah.
I have the Knicks 16-1 to win the title. I've done player props here and there. This is a weird situation where I don't know really how I want to attack that for the game specifically, going back to San Antonio for Game 5. I've hedged along the way with San Antonio with horrible numbers at like a little bit, plus 130, plus 110, somewhere in that range, even one at minus 110. At this point, I want to buy back on my hedging. I want the Knicks, but I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to leave things where they are, and if I have to get back on San Antonio later in this series, I will. But I have a feeling this thing's over. I just have this weird vibe that if you're San Antonio, you look in the mirror, you go, we've led for so much of these games. We've dominated for a good chunk of them. It's just in these critical moments they've had our number. What else are we supposed to do? I mean, I know what I would do, but Mitch Johnson doesn't know what they should do because he keeps making the same mistakes over and over again. At some point, if you're not willing to play through Wembanyama underneath the basket and utilize his 7'5" height advantage over these dudes, you're not going to win the championship this year. And that's going to be a lesson they're going to learn the hard way. I think the Knicks close it out on the road, Game 5 tomorrow.
Okay. I probably should have asked you this in the commercial break before we came on, but you're a big baseball guy.
Tons of it.
Tons?
Yeah.
Okay. Where you want to go?
All right.
The rest of the segment is yours. Go baseball.
So I got a bad number here, and I still stand by it. I'm on Baltimore today against San Diego. Shane Baz down to -131. I bet -140 last night. +108 with Griffin Canning the other way. Total's 9.5. I think Baltimore's starting to find themselves. They're getting some better pitching from guys like Brandon Young, and some other guys have been more competitive lately. The offense with Pete Alonso's coming alive. San Diego's lost 8 of 11. Baltimore's won 2 after losing 4 straight. But Baz has had 4 good starts in a row, and 3 of them were on the road. He comes back to Camden, and the last time he saw the San Diego team, 7 shutout innings and 6 strikeouts a year ago. San Diego does not score runs. They do not do anything. 30th in baseball in runs per game. They're a little bit better on the road. But the Orioles, 5th best in scoring at home in all of the major leagues. I love Baltimore today. -131 is the first play on the board.
Beautiful. Speaking of baseball, though, right now we have just a bonkers
Chaos.
game going on in Omaha for anybody who missed it. This thing started with West Virginia having a runner steal home. Their first ever College World Series, their first run scored is a stolen home run. Are we kidding?
Fun fact, I once tried to steal home. And
How'd that go?
And it was bases loaded. We had the 9-hitter up. We had him bunting. It was a suicide squeeze. He refused to bunt. And I ran in. I was technically safe. The catcher landed on me. But the fun fact with this is I got ejected because when I was called out, I threw my helmet at the umpire.
Stop.
Yeah.
How old were you?
15.
You're throwing helmets at umps at 15?
He felt the ball beat me there, but I was under the tag. And I'm big on the rules, and like you can say the ball beat me there, but if he doesn't tag me in time, I'm safe.
West Virginia was a near $3 favorite. They're up 5-4 right now, top of the 5th, so a long way to go in this thing. But anybody who thought that was maybe a bit of an overreaction in the market to West Virginia getting bet up as much as they were, because I know a lot of people were comparing that price of, wait, so West Virginia is a bigger favorite than Florida was over Troy, and looking at that number, although I know you are hoping West Virginia stays in the winner's bracket for your 55-1 that I'm very envious of.
Yeah, I need that. That'd be a fun one to cash, considering I knew nothing about them before I placed the bet. I mean, you know what? Maybe I should be betting the sports I know nothing about. I might be doing better with them.
Okay, so what are you doing in the World Cup? Where are you going?
Well, let's see. I'm on the over in Bosnia and Canada, and right now that is still a one. Do we say 1-0? Is that the deal? Not 1-0. 1-0.
Yes.
USA Paraguay. My thought is chaos and take Paraguay plus 285. But I'm not going to do it.
This is why I'm the worst, because I am just pro-America. I already bet on USA to win the group at plus 140, and I was like, you know what? Day one, why not? So I did a plus 110 on them today as well.
Well, I like that, because that is the most ignorant American thing to do, is to really not know, but just side with the American side of things.
For soccer of all sports, too. The one that we're the worst at.
Now, we talked about it a little bit with Mike Palm. This is a unique U.S. team. We have guys who are actually on European rosters. So there's a difference. They understand the level in competition. We're kind of at a critical juncture with Christian Pulisic, though. Like, he's the dude. He's been dubbed the dude for a long time. Shout out to Freddie Adu, who was also dubbed the dude. And I don't know where he is right now, and I think he's still young enough to be on this team. Can they break through? That's the question. Can we get there? 2002, they finished in the quarterfinals. Their best finish, 1930. They came in third. I don't think anyone's anticipating them being that good, but can this experience carry over from 2022, where this team now could pick up where they left off? They're at home. There's less travel for them. I want to say yes, but every time we do this little song and dance, it ends up poorly. Real quick, some other props that I do have tonight for baseball.
Go.
Sonny Gray over 16.5 outs for the Boston Red Sox. He is very good at home against a Rangers team that I don't think works the count very well. I'm also on Tanner Bybee over 17.5 outs recorded against the Tigers, who've been way better lately, winners of 7 of 9. But Bybee at home, coming off an 8-inning, 3-hit shutout. He's gone over this number pretty consistently over a stretch of games here. I like him to go over that. I'm I'm also on the Brewers team total tonight. I just like their offense in this spot. And then we're also going to take Atlanta. I got minus 105. You can get a plus price on them against the Mets. I don't understand why the Mets are such a big favorite in this situation.
Okay, should be a fun baseball day. Also a massive weekend in sports as we talked about the NBA Finals rolling on, the Stanley Cup Final, the Carolina Hurricanes just a win away from lifting the cup for the first time in 20 years. World Cup, College World Series. I mean, it is endless right now. And even though we are done today, don't go anywhere because Follow the Money is still going to be covering it all. Mitch and Paul are back. Eddie Olczyk is going to be on the program. Very curious to hear his opinion on how Game 5 shook out last night, and especially the Conn Smythe market, as we talked about earlier. Jordan Staal goes from over 100 to 1 after Game 2 to now sitting as an odds-on favorite despite doing a whole lot of nada for the first 3 rounds of the Stanley Cup playoffs. But he has been unbelievable in this series.
Will we be talking about Game 7s when we're together on Monday?
I sure hope so.
I don't think we will. Sorry to kill the buzz.
Come on! We need the content. We need the fun.